Uh-oh! Who's in front of their cabinet again? So, I'm not even going to do an introduction because I need to get right into this. I'm about to show you the method that's been going on for storing my decks. I know we just did this. I'm not going through to declutter. We are reorganizing, and I'm making you all come along with me. Because we are body doubling today. But I just need to, we're just gonna unveil. So, this is the situation right now. We are stacking them in a way that is like Leaning Tower of Pisa mode. And it's causing me a lot of mental pain. Not to be dramatic, but clearly, like if I wanted something on the bottom, this is chaos. So I got some new bins in. And I just thought you'd want to watch the process. So I got these from Amazon. Came in a 3-pack, these little, almost like file bins, and it should fit two in a row, and then I might just have an extra. But it came with this, oh, do I have 4? What's happening? Oh, no, okay, there's 3. These are the bottoms. All right, so I think what we're gonna start off with is just, I'm gonna pull these all out. And then, I don't know if we're gonna organize in any specific way, but we're gonna see how these fit. I don't know, I guess this is kind of just me vlogging. I don't know. This might not be interesting at all, but I just figured I was gonna want to talk it out loud, so I might as well record it. So, I'm gonna pull this all out, and then we're gonna get started. Okay, yes. So, I cleared everything out. Oh, except I left my, like, mini tin or pocket size decks up top because I would like the top shelf to kind of be for that, and maybe some of the bigger oracles I have. I think. Actually, I'm not positive on that. So something I have been thinking about recently, since kind of going through and doing that kind of fantasy self-test, I guess you could call it. Maybe not a test, but I was kind of going through and analyzing that. And I cleared out some things, or decluttered some decks, rehomed, that felt like they were here for a fantasy self reason. And I'm feeling really good with what I have right now. But an interesting factor that I kind of have to account for now is, since I have started offering readings for others, there are some decks that I have, or I even got in and I flipped through and I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to use this for me. Like, this just isn't going to work for what I'm trying to do. But I've pulled them out for readings for others, and they've worked wonderfully. So I'm kind of wondering if up here I could do my mini decks, and on this empty space keep the decks that I'm really only going to use for when I read for others, maybe not for myself, just to kind of keep them in one space, and just so I can kind of keep track of those decks and continue holding on to them if I think that's what makes sense. So the first one of those is the Mystical Healing Reading Cards. I really wanted these, honestly, for myself. And I opened it, I flipped through, and I just didn't excite me. But I've tried using them for a shadow work reading that I offer, and it is so wonderful. And I've even done the spread for myself using those cards. It's awesome. So these are definitely worthwhile for me to hold on to for that reason. Another deck is the Angels and Ancestors. I use this for my past life readings. Now, I really like this deck and how it works for that. I am kind of interested to look into some archetype decks and see if those might work as well, and maybe even work a little bit better. I really do like how these work for that, but I'm just kind of curious. I used to have the wild unknown archetypes, but I'm interested to see kind of what else is out there. So that's just a side note, but yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try and do up here. Also, if you are interested in booking any kind of reading, they are available in my Etsy shop, where I also sell my crochet bags, which the links for all of that will be in the description. So if you're looking out for that, that's where it is. So these are the only two right now that I feel kind of fully fit in that category. Now I'm wondering, how do I want to split this up? I feel like the biggest category I have are kind of my nature animal decks. So I'm wondering if I should shoot to kind of put fill one bin with those, and then do all the rest in the other bin. That might be the move. I don't know. We're going to see how it goes. I think I'm going to put this is the Love Your Inner Goddess deck, which was a birthday gift from one of my friends, and it's really a nice deck so far. It's still new to me, but I kind of feel like this is one that just when I'm feeling like I need it, I'll pull kind of a single card from, or I use it a lot to pull cards for others, which actually, now that I think about it, my grandmother's oracle kind of fits into that category too. So I don't have them in mind for specific readings that I offer, but they're decks that I tend to pull out when I feel like someone else needs a card. I love using these for myself as well, but just because I think they're bigger and wider, we can put those up there for now. Okay, yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with the nature kind of decks in here. I think that could be a good idea. So just while I'm doing this, I'll just chat through some of my ideas I've been having recently. I've been wanting to do another tarot meets ADHD video, and I've been pondering some topics, and I think the one that I'm really interested to do next is how ADHD might affect deck collecting habits. And it's a topic I'm a bit wary to approach, because I think I've given myself a lot of guilt in the past over liking to collect things, basically. Because I feel like sometimes I've just been made to feel like it's wrong. So I guess that's a little bit of where my slight wariness comes from, because I've just really beaten myself up about collecting habits in the past. But I do kind of feel like it could be helpful, and it is undeniable that there is a collecting tendency with ADHD. So I think it would be something really interesting to talk about. So let me know what you think about that. I won't go totally into my thoughts so far, since, that might be a video that I do, but it's been interesting trying to, even before I had that idea, it's something that I've been researching a bit, just because it interests me. And a lot of the stuff that comes out is kind of, what's the words I'm looking for? Almost like shaming? Where it talks about the connection between ADHD and hoarding tendencies. And while I'm sure that is actually a thing, and of course that is something that people struggle with, I do wish there was more out there not wording it as hoarding, because I don't like, that's not what I do. That's not really applicable to what I feel like my situation is. So I don't know, it's just something I've been thinking about, and unfortunately it just doesn't seem like there's that much information out there. So yeah, that's kind of that. What else have I been thinking about? Oh, there's some tags I've really been wanting to do that I've been meaning to, what's the word I'm looking for? Start filming, I suppose. I really want to do the sentimental decks tag put out by James. Oh, I always forget his username, or I think he does use just his last name. I always forget. But I know his first name is James. It is escaping me. But if you've seen that one, I'm really interested to do that. I think next, perhaps. But I also love the tag put out by 3 Fat Readers, How I Tarot. I've kind of been curious to do that as well, because I think it's a really fun, I've loved watching people's responses, because it's a really fun way to get to know them and just learn about, their backgrounds and just how many different ways there are to read tarot. I think it's really interesting to hear those different perspectives. So I kind of been wanting to do that as well. Yeah. I'm really excited about how this is working out. I think sometimes when my decks feel cluttered is when I start to get those thoughts of like, oh my gosh, do I have too many? Like, should I be like embarrassed about this? Should I kind of feel shame around this? I don't know why there's a connection there, but there is. And maybe that's just something that I've been struggling with a little bit recently. That could just be all it is. But I kind of feel like this is making me feel a bit more sane right now. Because it's interesting. I feel like there's a lot of different views out there, as there should be, when it comes to how many decks is the right amount, and like what's too much, what's, whatever it is. And I think the consensus is, at least from the people that I watch, is that it's a personal choice, and it is. But I think sometimes it's hard to listen to someone else's opinion, and, or, maybe it's just some me things. When someone has an opinion that is kind of different from how you like to do things, it's hard not to have that moment of kind of second guessing, I find. And again, maybe that's just a me thing. Could be. But that's kind of been something I've been working on, is not feeling, or coming to a place where I feel happy with my collection and happy with my purpose and what I'm doing, so that I can kind of hear those things and be like, that's really cool that they have their own way and own view of doing that, and I have my own too, and it's okay that they're different. Does that make, I'm hoping I'm making sense. I'm kind of just rambling while I do this. These are just the things I've been thinking recently. Because I think well, I think there has been a lot of discussion of, if there's individual, which I've not personally run into, but I suppose I could see it happening, of individuals saying like, if you have too many decks, whatever their definition is, then you're not a good tarot reader. Or if you're not like super bonded with one single deck, then you can't read well, or this, that, and the other. And I think sometimes, I think shaming anyone in any way just isn't good, of course, but I think it just doesn't account for obviously that's just kind of sticking to one opinion, but I think it's interesting to think about of how there really is so many ways to do this, and it is such a hobby for so many people. It's a hobby for me. And just the difference between tarot reading and tarot collecting, and how there is space for both. And it's just a personal preference, really, in terms of, do you want to do one, both, more one, and a little bit of the other? I think there's a lot of different ways to kind of look at that. Oh, I forgot. I like this solution, but I feel like I could have even gotten a little bit of bigger bins. Or I wish the other one just kind of fit. Well, I think this can go up here as well. This is my Thoth. Yeah, we're just gonna stick him up here. Because I've enjoyed going through and pulling a card a day from the Thoth in an effort to learn, because I do think it's really interesting, but I have to admit, it's not fully captured my attention right now. I'm going to hold on to the deck, and I have a whole book that I can look at when I feel like it. But for now, I don't feel super called to really dive into that, which is okay. Oh, I left decks out. Okay. Oopsie. Well, we have another mini, so that works. Now, this is where it gets a little hairy, huh? This I'm gonna leave out, because this is my Il Meneghello deck, which is actually both Paul and I's deck. He is like 100% Italian, so he was very interested to see a classic Italian deck. So we got one of these together. So I don't want to put this away in case he doesn't know where to find it. I'm going to put it on one of my shelves, so we can leave that out, which makes room for you and for you. Oh my gosh, this is working out. And then I've got my Crow Tarot. What do I feel like doesn't need to be in the basket? You know what? I actually don't want this guy in here. This is a Light Sprite Tarot, which feels very connected to my personal spirit guide. So we're going to leave that out because I use that all of the time. So easy access is important. Oh, perfect. Yes. Okay. This is exciting. So we're going to put that on a shelf. Then I have my daily deck, my weekly decks, which I put that video up on Sunday. But these, I just leave kind of in a pile next to my reading desk. So these don't have to go in there, and they'll just get swapped out for decks for next week, or if they didn't work out, then they move along. But I am so pleased. Do we think I'll have a new way to organize it next month? Let's start taking bets now. There's nothing I love more than reorganizing how I keep these in this cabinet, but this is very satisfying, I have to say. That really works for me. Oh, so I've got also, this is my Memento Mori, which obviously is just a monster of a deck. So we're going to leave that out here. And honestly, if I need the space in this bucket, so this ended up being my nature and animal deck, so that worked out. Over here is just everything else, which tends to kind of be like my cute decks and my like art history inspired, I guess you could say, is where that tends to lean. But I've got my combined herbiary and bestiary deck back there, which is also a chonker of a deck. So I might end up stacking those two up here for the space. And then I've got my Fairies Oracle that stays on my altar space because I pull from that daily. Yeah! Oh my gosh, this is so... Look at that! Ta-da! Alright, well, that's all done. I hope that you enjoyed watching this. It just was a little bit of a ramble while I just sorted through this. But thanks for hanging out with me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.